a bit past 7 o'clock, so let's start with our monthly meetup. Welcome to BlockchainLab Drenthe. For those who are here for the first time, let me introduce the BlockchainLab Drenthe Foundation first. We are a non-profit which has the goal to spread knowledge, experience and insights about distributed ledger technology to entrepreneurs, governmental bodies, students, schools and private persons. We develop blockchain applications ourselves. We have developed self-sovereign tendency, now the eKNIP, a local coin for the municipality of Emmen, etc. And we are heavily involved in blockchain project Bling, which is an inter-European project. Bling stands for Blockchain in Government, and that are 14 partners in 6 North Sea region countries which are working together to create blockchain applications and blockchain pilots. Now, you might ask, what is that new orange color here? That's the orange color and the logo of the Dutch Blockchain Week, which we are celebrating this week. And it's, I believe, the second day that they are doing a program, and we are part of that with this meetup. So I think we're going to make that a standard color. I think it's great, not just because I'm Dutch. Let me start with giving some remarks about how we do these meetups. As you can see, this is YouTube. So the main part of our meetup is sending information, but we also want to receive information if you are willing to. There is the possibility to use the chat function of YouTube to ask questions, introduce yourself. We would love to hear where you're from and who we're dealing with, and start some discussions. So please log into YouTube. It's a Google company because they don't want people anonymously writing all kinds of stuff. So you'll have to log in and post remark, ask questions. Afterwards, we are going to Kumo Space. That is a website where we can have an informal chat with each other. And Kumo is a little bit special because, like in these instances, or when we have a team conference or whatever, one person is speaking and the rest is just listening. In Kumo Space, everybody can talk. You can walk in a room up to somebody and start a conversation with them. You only hear and can talk to people who are in your circle. We even have a piano, so if you want to listen to some music, you can. I will post that link later on again, so you can join if you want to. Right, now the program of today's meetup is first, I'm going to speak about some general things, about some price action, about some scams, etc. That's the general part. Then we have 2 speakers. Joel Kleibs is going to talk about Iota and all the new things that are coming up. Iota is having a growth spurt. And you might or might not know, we are using Iota a lot for our projects here in BlockchainLab Drenthe. So Joel is one of our programmers, and he's going to sum up what is going on in Iota. And after that, the third speaker is going to be me again, and I'm going to talk about centralized finance versus decentralized finance. Decentralized finance is a hot topic. People looking to invest in cryptos, but not only because prices go up or down, they also want to look into some passive income. Now, DeFi is popping up very soon if you are Googling those terms. So what is DeFi and how does it compare to CeFi, centralized finance? I'm going to compare that later on. So you also see on this screen the date of our next meetup on January 20th in the new year. That's why I said this is the last one of the year. Now, without further ado, let's start with our first segment, what's going on in the blockchain space. And for this segment, I really need to start with addressing the price action that has been dominating all the screens. Bitcoin falling from its latest high. Everybody in crypto is looking at this kind of screens, right? All these, at the moment, mainly red squiggles are prices going down. And today, Bitcoin was at 49,000 and a bit. So a big change from last month. But most of the cryptocurrencies were down. Bitcoin, when you compare that to our last meetup on the 11th of November, it's been going down 24%. Now, hey, we're still a lot higher than on the 1st of January, right? In January, we were 32,000, let's say 33,000, and at the moment, 50,000. But still, investors who got into the market recently, let's say the last 3-4 months, probably are going to have a loss. When we look at the markets overall, here underneath you can see that the total market cap at the moment is $2.3 billion, but last month it was 2.8. So it's been going, the total market cap has been falling 17%, which is less than what Bitcoin has been going south. So Bitcoin has been underperforming. And you can also see that because the Bitcoin dominance has gone down, right? You can see at the moment it's 39%. It used to be 60%. In January, nearly 2/3 of all money invested in cryptos was in Bitcoin. It was 64%, as you can see. Now, at the moment, it's 39, nearly 40%. So the stake of Bitcoin in the market has been fading, or maybe we could say the stake of altcoins has been growing. Right? The number of cryptocurrencies, we're nearing the end of the year, so we can compare. At the start of the year, there were around 8,300 cryptocurrencies. At the moment, that it nearly doubled. It's 15,400. So the market is growing and growing, and everybody wants their own coin. So it's I always doubt with that kind of numbers who is going to survive, but at least the currencies you saw on the screen here, Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc., those are going to survive anyway. Yeah, this is the price action of Bitcoin in the last month. It's been very red, let's put it that way. This was the comparison between Ethereum and Bitcoin last month. You could see that they were around the same level. That you could see that Ethereum was outperforming Bitcoin by a nice margin, but the main trend was the same. This month, it's a bit different. Yes, at the start, there was a very high correlation, but as you can see, Ethereum recovered and Bitcoin didn't. And at the moment, there is a big gap between what Ethereum is doing and Bitcoin is doing. So Bitcoin is probably the most popular cryptocurrency on the planet, but Ethereum is his successful brother. It outperforms Bitcoin with quite a bit. That is probably because lots of investors are slowly but surely taking investing in cryptos more seriously, right? There was a survey that was held under investors, people who invest in stocks or other financial instruments, and if they would invest money in cryptos. And at the moment, nearly a quarter, 24%, said they would invest their money in cryptos instead of in stocks. Now, that still is only a quarter, right? But half a year ago, it was only 10%. So it made a big leap from 10 to 25%. People are taking cryptos more serious and seeing it as an alternative. Let's see if that is the case in 3 to 6 months, right? Because this might be a survey where people have only seen the prices moving up, and we saw that last month that was not the case. Because of the stream of new investors seeing crypto as an alternative, there have to be regulations. And it used to be that the big exchanges, crypto exchanges, and the big crypto companies would be a little bit hesitant, right? Cryptocurrencies have the reputation of being a little bit anarchistic, and everybody wants to be the boss of their own money, etc. So rules and regulations and laws is not the most popular thing. But recently, this week, we saw large crypto companies asking the American government for laws and regulations. They want to hear what they can do and what not. It also has to do with the fact that Gary Gensler is now the chairman of the board of the SEC, and let me put it this way, Gary was teaching blockchain courses at MIT, so he knows what it is. Now, that does not mean that Mr. Gensler is very positive about cryptos. On the contrary, he's very on the safe side. He is very on the side of creating regulations that will make it harder for people to invest in cryptos, because he thinks that most of the people don't know what they're doing, right? But in the meantime, these big companies are asking for new laws so they know what they can do. Also here in Holland we have the AFM, the Authority of Financial Markets, and they did a survey. They called nearly 300 investors, but in all kinds of age categories. And how popular is crypto in Holland? Well, it shows that nearly 2 million Dutch people hold cryptos, and those are people over 18, right? 1 in 12 people invest in crypto, and that's a lot. Crypto is becoming very popular. We teach from within BlockchainLab Drenthe. We teach a minor blockchain in school, and we see how many students are holding crypto. Everybody is trying to get rich, so they're all involved. We don't mind as long as they get involved in blockchain. That's okay. Get them young. No, I didn't say that, but it's very hard, and there are a lot of scammers, and we'll talk about that in a moment, who are taking advantage of that. 1 of 8, so 12% of these crypto investors would get into financial trouble when the market would go down. And would go down, would crash, is what AFM calls more than 10%. We just saw that Bitcoin went down 24% last month. So if you invested in the last 2-3 months at 64,000 or 63,000, and you go down more than 10%, so 56,000, you get into big financial trouble. We're now at 48,000. So this is a scenario which already is a self-fulfilling prophecy. So that is the problem. People have a lack of knowledge of what they're doing in crypto. So buyer beware is something we would have to write on the wall. Another buyer beware is scam. Scammers are a topic which we address every meetup, and not because we adore scammers, but we want to teach people what can go wrong when you invest in cryptos. And this was a case of 2-3 days ago. An exchange, Bitmart, was hacked, and the hackers retrieved around $200 million in over more than 20 different cryptocurrencies, and they took off with the money, right? We always say the same thing. A quote we have from Andreas Antonopoulos: not your keys, not your coins. So people use exchanges, but take your coins from the exchange into your own wallet, and then they're yours. As long as they are on the exchange, they can be taken from you, which is what happened at Bitmart. Luckily, the crypto community rushed in to help. Huobi, which is another crypto exchange, offered their help and started to look where the coins disappeared. And even the Shiba Inu community, the sheep army, as they call themselves, said, well, we have to support Bitmart and help them in this very dark times. The Bitmart is not falling; they are still in business, but you can see the market also helps in times of crisis. Here we have another scam or disaster. Two, one in MonoX. There was 31 million drained, and Badger DAO 120 million. This was a exploit. This last one was an exploit in a DAO, in a smart contract, where users in their community flagged weeks up front that this is not correct. There's a vulnerability that can compromise this contract and we will lose money. The Badger DAO support didn't react. They whisked it away, not important. Just somebody calling and saying things that are not true. And then it happened. So the money is gone, and now everybody is in panic. So it happens. And if you have your money invested in any way, you'll have to be aware that it can be lost, as long as you don't have it in your own wallet, which also has a little bit of a problem, right? If you lose your private key. Okay, we'll talk about that now, because this is a new scam popping up for investors. And you've all had these emails, right? From a Nigerian prince who inherited a lot of money and wanted to give it to you. And we all know not to step into that trap. This is a bit different. So you will get an email of somebody who says, well, I live in China and I have cryptos, but it's illegal here. So I want to get rid of them because I don't want to go to jail. All right, so here you have my seed, my wallet seed. Or even here you have my private key. And please send the money somewhere nice, people who need it, and even take something for yourself. Good luck. Now, you might be tempted to put in that private key, because what could happen, right? Put in the private key and look at that wallet. And what you see is there is $3,000 in Tether or any other stablecoin in that wallet. There is real money and you have the private key. What could go wrong? Well, of course you want to take that money out, right? You want to retrieve the $3,000 from that wallet. But there is no gas money in that wallet. So to take those $3,000 on tethers out of the wallet, you have to put $40, $50 of gas money, ethers, into that, and then you can retrieve it. So you do. You send $50 of ether to that wallet to make a transaction to get the tethers out. 10 seconds after you deposit your ethers into that wallet, these ethers will be removed. There is a computer program monitoring the wallet, and probably lots of wallets, and the second you put in 50, they will take the 50 out, right? That's maybe $10 in transaction fee. They will have $40 in their account. And you are still not able to take the tethers out. And so they will write the next one and the next one and the next one. So it might look very safe. Somebody hands you the private key. There is real money in there. You can look at an Explorer and see that it is really there and that you have the private key to get them out. But as soon as you attempt to take the money out and you have to put a few euros in, a few dollars, your money is gone. And that's not the world, but if they do that 30 times, they have $1,500, which is nice for a day's work. So be aware. There's lots of scams going on. Okay, that was the item, what's new in the blockchain space. Let's see if there are any questions. But first, let me go and put my glasses on. I don't see any questions there. Nice to have you all aboard. I see people from Utrecht, Munich, Gieten, India. It must be night or even morning there. Musselkanaal, yeah, that's around the corner. And Enschede. Okay, if you don't have any questions, could I change the private key? No. Once you have an account and you have a private key, because the private key will generate the public key, which is the account number. So that's unfortunate. If you have an account, you can transfer money, but if you lose the private key or if you want to change the private key, that's not possible. Geert-Jan komt uit Meteren, daar ben ik zelfs geboren. Now, let's see if there are no questions. I will go to Joel, who will tell you all about the Iotas, but I might have to change something. One moment, please. There is a slight thing I have to change because I have had a other presentation and I changed something, which will take me about 20 seconds and we're done. So let's switch over to Joel.
Hello everybody and welcome. Thank you very much first of all to you, Adri, for having me here today. I'm very honored to be here and I'm excited to give you a couple of news about the Iota realm myself. My name is Joel Kleibs. I am a student at NHL Stenton University, completing a bachelor's in IT currently. I'm in my third year. I'm moving towards the end of my internship. And at the internship I produce with the project group, of course, we produce software solutions using blockchain technology, specifically using Iota. I'm here today to talk with you a little bit about some big updates that Iota has brought out, what this means for me as a developer, and what it may mean for the Iota Foundation in general. And the topic at hand is the Iota Shimmer. And the question is it a new beginning for the Iota Foundation, or is it a new beginning for Iota in general? So to address this, let me go over the agenda with you. First of all, I'm going to give you a brief overview of all the current networks how many different networks there are, and what the differences are between the networks, and of course the reasoning for all these different networks. Then I'll be diving straight into the Iota Shimmer, what the update brings, what it means for the community, for developers, and what is great about the Iota Shimmer. Then of course I will be talking about one of the newest things that'll most probably also be available on the Iota Shimmer, soon TM, which is assembly. And then after that we have already completed the merry-go-round of Iota information, and I will be giving you my thoughts and my conclusions about the current situation of Iota, the Iota Foundation, and my opinion on the way things are going currently. So to start off, what are the current Iota networks? There is the main network, which is Chrysalis. There is a test DevNet, and now the big announcement, the third network, the Iota Shimmer. And you are already confused and running in circles, asking me, oh Joel, why are there so many different networks? And I'm here to explain. Don't worry. So, the Chrysalis network is the current main net. It was what the Iota started off with. The Chrysalis network brings a wide array of functions and frameworks for developers such as myself to use, such as tokenized assets. Well, that's not in there yet, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Streams, smart contracts, access, for example, digital identity also, and all sorts of other frameworks and things and features that developers can use to produce apps for companies or individuals that would like to have some smart solutions. Then there is the Iota 2.0 DevNet. This is the development network for the Iota Foundation's developers that are working and building and tweaking on the current Iota network infrastructure and architecture. And this network is used for testing purposes only, and it's for testing new features and seeing if they work, and what will happen if you would implement them on an Iota network. The tokens that are used in that network do not have any monetary value because it is only for testing, therefore they will be testing tokens. Now comes the question, okay, we have a mainnet and we have a testnet. What else could there possibly be for Shimmer to be introduced? Why is Shimmer introduced? And the question is very well put, and it's a good question in general, and I'm here to evaluate. So Shimmer is there to act as a staging platform for features that are being developed and created in the Iota 2.0 testnet to bring to the community and to let the community test and try out and have a look into what is currently being worked on. This has multiple reasons, and it is simply the Shimmer network is simply required because it will have more users than the testnet, because it will later anything that will be released on the Shimmer network will then later on, once approved by the community, be implemented in the final goal of or the goal that Iota is currently working towards, which is Iota 2.0. The desire for Iota 2.0 is to become fully decentralized, and that is because, or that means that everything is running completely autonomous, and there is not a single point of failure. And in the current Chrysalis network, there is sadly a single point of failure, which is the coordinator. So currently, the way that the checking of the network and the validators, or the observers in this case, check the individual nodes, tell them where they should be branching off to and what nodes they should be connecting to, and the coordinator essentially coordinates the entire tangle. However, this means that if a coordinator becomes corrupt, that is a single point of failure that a distributed ledger cannot afford. And that is why the Shimmer network is there. It is there to test the fully decentralized, non-coordinator-based Iota Tangle. And because Shimmer will have more users than the DevNet, it will be the user playground or the user testnet, and the Iota 2.0 DevNet is the developer testnet. And the developer testnet will be used to create new features. These features will then be served on the Shimmer as early access for users to test and implement in their new applications in close to real-life situations. And this will be important to be able to test the network's scalability, capacity, the way that just to see how things would run out in a real-life setting. And the Shimmer network really does bring quite a handful of new features, which will then ultimately be implemented into the full-fledged Iota 2.0 network, which is supposed to become the new main net, which is currently Chrysalis. And the features will be given to the community for testing via the Shimmer network. So, introducing Shimmer. The Shimmer network will bring its own token, the Shimmer, and this token is first of all the native token for the Shimmer network. The Shimmer network brings multiple things. The Shimmer network brings a programmable multi-asset ledger with the introduction of output types and tokenization in the base layer. This allows the ability to track the ownership of several native tokens in the same ledger. Yes, you heard correctly, I will repeat it. Tokenization, or rather the newest feature from Shimmer, allows the ability to track the ownership of several native tokens in the same ledger. This is something called asset wrapping, there's something that will use this feature in terms of smart contracts, which is called asset wrapping, but I will be getting to that at a later point. Furthermore, the Shimmer network also brings the smart contracts, which was the last big update before Shimmer that Iota has announced. So the Iota, these have recently been released in the latest Iota version. The newest release of the smart contracts update allows developers to choose between multiple different programming languages, such as the Ethereum's smart contract programming language, but also allows for Rust and a couple of other programming languages for you to create your smart contracts in. Furthermore, the smart contracts will support multiple virtual machines, and all this serves to give developers the maximum amount of freedom to complete tasks in the way that they want to. And of course, the Shimmer update will bring the fully decentralized Iota Tangle. And that it does this by removing the coordinator role. This means, in effect, that the Iota network is moving towards a proof-of-stake protocol for decentralization and for creating and connecting nodes. What this means is that the coordinator is taken out of the equation to remove the single point of failure, and instead users will be able to stake their tokens, which means they will be effectively frozen. You can't trade them, you can't really use them. They will be frozen and they will be used for staking. Your stake represents a percentage, the tokens you give for staking is a percentage of the overall tokens that are within the system, and depending on your percentage, the percentage of money that you stake increases your validation power. So anybody can become a validator and do the job that the coordinator did before, but instead of it being a centralized server executing that role, anybody can become a validator, and for an incoming transaction that requires some kind of calculation, from a list of validators, also depending on how much computing power you require, so depending on how big the stake is, a random validator will be chosen to work that transaction out and complete it and execute it. In that way, the coordinator can efficiently be substituted out, and the new completely decentralized yet still fully scalable and network that Iota brings, because Iota brings it very quick speeds and immense scalability, whilst of course keeping immutability and trustlessness. And then lastly, the Shimmer update will also bring other optimizations to the network, such as sharding, but I will not be going into too much detail about that in this presentation. If you are interested, however, do definitely check out the Iota wiki and the Iota blog posts. Everything is explained in a lot of detail there, and if you would like even more detail, you could probably even try to connect with Iota developers or something via a Discord group or something like that. Now this brings me to the objective of introducing Shimmer. So now, why has Shimmer been created? We already have a test network. Why can't we just use the Iota 2.0 test network for these tests? And there's a couple of things that Iota thought about, the Iota Foundation thought about when releasing Shimmer, and that is to accelerate the adoption of technology. Simply put, if I can work on a new function whilst the function I worked on before is already being tested, I can then exchange those two, work with the feedback I've gotten from the already tested version while the next version is already being tested by the users. It allows for a more dynamic and quicker development of new features and assets, as well as quicker testing of the new features and assets. So the Shimmer network will provide the Iota Foundation with that. Then furthermore, it allows developers to have a look into the newest features that the Iota 2.0 network will bring, and via Shimmer, e.g. quote-unquote the early access version of the Iota 2.0 network, we can already produce solutions and make services using the currently existing features on the Chrysalis network, which are also available on the Shimmer network, to then be implemented on launch of the new update. And that's just amazing. This will also allow for more developer tooling to be produced. Documentation for all the different things will already be produced before the actual product is on the market. This just allows external developers that would like to work with Iota, such as the company at which I am currently doing my internship, we can already start working with these frameworks and with these modules, which is a really big benefit. But that is also not necessarily something new. Then a new token economy will be introduced. Yes, the Shimmer network will have its own native token, the Shimmer, and simply by staking your Iotas, you can grab your free Shimmer tokens, which may or may not have financial value on the launch of the Iota 2.0 network, but I am no finance person, and therefore you should not be taking my word for that. Then furthermore, it incentivizes testing and public validation of the product. So essentially, if we're talking in terms of user development life cycles, that would be the user acceptance test. And as soon as you give the prototype version to the users and they test it and they say it's good, then the Iota Foundation can move forward with a lot more confidence to deploying these new features to the actual Iota 2.0 network. Another benefit off of staking and that this new decentralized Iota Tangle brings is that it is fully community governed, and that is because community decisions for what the next steps should be will be directly proportional to your shimmers. So when staking your IOTAs, you'll be rewarded in terms of shimmers, and these points, your rewards will also have an influence at how much your vote counts in the community voting processes. Because when deciding what is to do next in a decentralized ledger, there is not a single point who you could ask, okay, what were we going to do next? Therefore, votings need to take place, and these votings, you will be able to participate in these votings if you are participating in the IOTA Shimmer. And lastly, IOTA has gotten a little bit of backlash for not delivering on promises, and there was always a little bit of skepticism, and the IOTA Shimmer will give another layer of security for users and for end users, because they will be informed about the newest features that will be coming out. They can then test them already before they're out on the main network, and they can already produce products before they are even released, which is just a blessing in terms of development. Then, as mentioned before, the Shimmer network will include smart contracts, but it will not only include smart contracts, because the Iota Foundation thought, we already released Shimmer 2-3 weeks ago. Let's release assembly and just give even more features and possibilities to these developers, so that they absolutely have no idea what to produce first, and that they can't even comprehend the number of use cases and possibilities. So, introducing the Iota Shimmer assembly network. So, the assembly network will essentially be bring a new token again, the assembly token. You can obtain this assembly token in the same way that you obtain your shimmers, and that is simply by staking your IOTAs. You only require an operational node and a small amount of IOTAs, and boom, you are already a validator, and you are already being rewarded with assembly tokens. So, the question is, what is assembly? Well, the name assembly stems from the meaning the action of gathering together as a group for a common purpose. In this case, the purpose is a fully decentralized and scalable execution of smart contracts. Yes, this is insane. The assembly will allow users to have no limit to the amount of smart contracts that they will be doing. The assembly will be a network of networks, if you will. It'll be a completely separate chain from the Iota tangle, because and it's very good to think of this as a multi-layered system at this point. So the base layer is the Iota tangle. This will be supplying trust, and it'll be the anchor point for everything that has to do with trust and proving that things have happened, or essentially where things should be recorded. It'll be the immutable database. And assembly, the network in the layer above, will allow smart contracts to chain and link with each other. This means that this brings an entirely new dimension in the use cases for smart contracts, which is a great, tremendous opportunity. Furthermore, of course, these smart contracts will be fully support multiple programming languages such as Rust, TinyGo, JavaScript, and of course Solidity. And of course, all of these smart contracts can be run are completely compatible with different types of virtual machines, so that a Ethereum contract that has been written today can already be used in the Iota assembly via the Iota network, the Iota tangle, today, which is absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. And again, community governed, fully decentralized. You get rewards for staking your tokens. This is all very, very big news. Other features that Assembly bring are the shared security, as mentioned before, fast and reliable, cheap smart contracts. This is because with Assembly, you will be able to set your own fees for the service that you are providing, including zero, which means that it is possible for you to produce or supply the market with completely free services, if you will, because it is based on the Iota tangle, which is completely feeless, which is absolutely bonkers. Then there is no MEV, so which stands for miner extractable value. That is because there are no miners, there will be validators. And again, as the concept that I explained before, there are it is completely decentralized, and you do not need to pay a miner for executing or doing the calculations of your smart contract. Because there is no miner, it is possible for you to go to specify that your fees for your smart contract will be completely zero. And going back to Shimmer, the Shimmer update, you can even use asset wrapping in your smart contracts, which means you could specify the type of token that your smart contract accepts, which allows for even more customization within your smart contracts. On top of it being possible that you have multiple smart contracts running at the same time, interlocking smart contracts, there are endless variations and possibilities for this. Yeah, and it is absolutely. I think it is really revolutionary, because there is not a single other smart contract blockchain or any other blockchain for that allows features such as this at no price. Usually you have a payoff between performance to price or something like that. Iota tries to provide as many services as possible completely for free for everybody. That is really something that I can stand by, and that I would identify with also. Staking will be a thing here too, and same as in Shimmer, the staking process allows for people to become validators. Validators have a natural incentive to be honest, because they are staking their own tokens and therefore are contributing towards the network in the first place, and therefore they shouldn't be wanting to be corrupt. However, if they do become corrupt and they do something, of course, safety measures are in place, which means that once you as a validator do something that you're not supposed to do, your staked or a portion of your staked tokens will be slashed, which means they will be taken away from you and burned by the foundation. They will be completely taken out of the system, which acts as another safety mechanism to ensure that everything goes around fairly. Then, same as in Shimmer, Assembly will also be community governed, and this isn't the case as of right now, but I'm very sure that this will also be implemented in Shimmer, and and ultimately in Iota 2.0. And this leads us to the conclusion and evaluation phase. Is this a new beginning? Iota, we can see that Iota has made some drastic changes to its Tangle base layer, so changes to the architecture. They have brought out 3 ginormous updates in a practically negligible time frame, which is the smart contracts update, the Iota Shimmer, and now Assembly. But I personally don't think it is fair to say it's a new beginning, because yes, of course, to an extent it is, because of all the new features and the new way of going at things. However, keep in mind that everything is still based upon the same concept of the Iota tangle. So the concept of complete freedom and transparency and trust, or trustlessness even, and with the opportunity to handpick the different modules that you require and you would like to use. And essentially, the Iota Foundation allows developers to produce and produce solutions specifically catered to anybody's needs. Anything can be done, and if you don't require a couple of features, simply leave them away. It's not a whole everything or nothing package deal. You can pick and choose what you would like, and that's why I think it is not a new beginning, but it is just on the road of moving towards the future. And yeah, I am very excited to see what else the Iota Foundation has in stock for us in the future. And on this note, I would thank you very much for listening to me, and I'll give it back to you, Adri.
Thank you, Joel. Yeah, let's not crack open the bottles of champagne yet. I'm also very enthusiastic. I've seen some remarks in the chat of people being very enthusiastic about what's coming. Of course, they're building it at the moment and they're testing it, right? There are already tests with smart contracts and DAOs and etc. So there's a very big community that is very eager to build this and to make this work. And I think that is the real value of a coin, not only that it has a certain number of euros or dollars pinned to it because it's more in demand than there is supply. I think the real value is the people who are willing to put time and effort in it. And the Iota organization in itself, I have lost count, is I believe 120 persons, right? So it's no small beer. But there are thousands of people on their Discord. Some of them don't know and are newbies, but there are also very smart and very experienced people who put a lot of their spare time in. I've seen people being on that Discord day and night and answering questions. So it's great. For the value of the Iota token. I see Gert-Jan posting a question that about Firefly. That's their wallet. There is a desktop Firefly at the moment, and they are, I believe, beta testing with the mobile version. And yes, Gert-Jan, we are all waiting for the Firefly version where you can stake your Iotas. And maybe I'm wrong, but Joel was talking about locking up your Iotas. Yes, but it's liquid staking. So if I want to pull them out, then I can pull them out in an instant. It's not like staking in other cryptocurrencies where you have to lock it up for a longer period. Liquid staking means you can go in and out whenever you want. The shimmer and the assembly tokens will be rewarded by, I believe, a number of seconds that you have put your Iotas in. So you don't have to lock it up for weeks or months. Are there any other questions? Let's see. Some of them were already answered. Like I said, I'm very enthusiastic. We did several projects with Iota, and of course it's very hard to work with a protocol which is evolving this fast. I mean, it's very positive that they're building, but it's also very hard to keep up. And once you have your applications ready and done and up for deployment and delivery, then they already are working on something different. And it's like buying a new laptop, right? You see something in the store and you say, well, that would be my ideal laptop. But if I wait 3 months, then they will have something new. So let's wait 3 months. And that's what most software houses do. Not we built our energy knip, our energy wallet for the municipality of Emmen on it, and we froze the version of Iota that we're working with by using a private tangle, and we're in production. We are deploying. The energy knip app is already in the App Store, and in a few weeks people will get the QR codes to register their house on the tangle. And in a few weeks, nearly 50,000 houses will be registered on the Iota tangle. Okay, I forgot something in the first topic, the general topic, so to speak. We had a very nice blockchain hackathon where also Navin Ramachandran, who is a board member of Iota, spoke. But there were 140 students and entrepreneurs working in 30 teams on all kinds of nice challenges and solutions, of course. And we have an after movie I would like to show you. Where you are in the studios of Promo Sound, the headquarters for our Bling-a-thon 2021. 30 hours of work with 140 participants in a lot of countries all over Europe and the world.
The Bling project is a North Sea region project with 14 partners, all working on government solutions with the help of blockchain technology.
This is our motto: eat, sleep, hack, repeat, where sleep is a little bit crossed over. Track number 1 is about energy, microgrids, when you want to sell your electricity to your neighbor and all stakeholders involved. Track number 2 is about transport, containers, truckers, harbor, freighters, and the whole ecosystem around it. Track number 3 is about e-voting. How do you make an election end-to-end verifiable, so you're sure that when you voted for Biden, your vote is not going to Mr. Trump? And the last track is about electronic documents and messages. How do I deliver them in a secure and verifiable way?
Hackers, are you ready? Start the clock and start hacking.
Goedemorgen iedereen, goedemorgen, bonjour. Everybody can use some creativity, including you.
Have you decided on a team name yet?
We thought just of the team name Not Found.
Not found, 404. In this segment, we are going to talk about real-life blockchain applications.
I'm here because of the economical effects, because the crypto coin will be spent at our local companies.
You are live on our stream at the moment. To me, hacking is being creative, thinking out of the box, solving problems, maybe in ways that nobody expected.
What you are seeing now is the place where all the containers are shipped and placed.
I'll see you at the podium tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Okay, participants, are you ready? We're going to start the pub quiz. The winner of this pub quiz will receive a wild card for the finale. Team 29.
4 is the winner of the bomb game. They will get a wild card. See you back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Good morning at day 2 of the hackathon, and I hope you're energized and refreshed, because these are the prizes of the Bling-a-thon you'll be able to win. Good morning. Oh, you're up and running already. The atmosphere is already swinging.
We are making progress, but it is a little bit early in the morning to go full throttle.
We started making our actual prototype quite late yesterday, but we did make some progress.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, bye.
Usually projects is something they scroll on the website or they read about, and now they have people really talking about the story.
Well, hackathons are magical. Like you said, they are bonding with each other, but also with the coaches.
This is the main hall.
Super.
And you can see that the students are working there.
You see, we're all chilling. We just got like
the food delivered. They kept on coding all night. This is the bet of Dries from last night.
One of the main ideas is basically that we would all carry a digital wallet.
Yeah.
Very, very, very relevant. So exciting.
Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you and good luck to all the teams.
Stop hacking and prepare for the finals. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. This is the moment where nearly 30 teams have been working for nearly 30 hours. Good evening, distinguished jury members. Happy to have you on board.
Our mission is to make all energy come from sustainable sources.
Does anyone from the jury have a question about this presentation?
And in that case, what kind of blockchain you would use?
At the entrance, there will be a scanner for the QR codes.
Yeah, congratulations for the video. It was very well presented.
I will jump into the channel of the team that has won. Yes, you won. Congratulations. This is Team B Voter. You won Best Design. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wait, we did it?
We did it.
Holy crap, we did it.
And they are winning 1,000 euros. And they are going to get also tickets to the European Blockchain Convention. Thank you for participating. Thank you for looking at our stream. I hope you found it valuable and interesting, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you. I still get goosebumps looking at these these pictures and these moments. Okay, I don't see other questions, so I'll switch to the presentation about CeFi versus DeFi. Let me go there in a moment. Oh, I'll press a few buttons. Let's do it this way. Before I start about CeFi and DeFi, we have to put it a little bit into context. With that I mean, when we go back in time and we look at Web 1.0 a few decades ago, it seems like a lifetime, but anyway, it were static pages where we had pictures that we could look at. And so it was a big improvement when we went to Web 2.0, right? There we have dynamic information, not static. We had interaction. We were connected to centralized databases. The Googles and the Microsoft of this world, data was owned by Google and Microsoft. All your Word documents were there. And all your PowerPoint presentations or your Google Docs were at Google, etc. That's where we are still at the moment. But we are moving towards Web 3.0. And in Web 3.0, we still have that dynamic information and that interaction. But the information is not stored at Google and Microsoft anymore. It is stored decentralized. And the data is not owned by the Facebooks and the Googles and the Microsofts. The data is owned by the users. You put it on IPFS, you put it on storage, etc. You are the one that decides if it's going to stay there or not, and who is going to be able to look at it. Now, in this table, you can see different comparisons between Web 2.0 and 3.0. If we look at 2.0, you could say, okay, use Google Chrome, and but the Web 3.0 alternative is Brave browser. Web 2.0, you would use Dropbox and Google Drive, and in Web 3.0, you would use storage and IPFS. Right? In 2.0, you would use Twitter and Facebook. In 3.0, you would use Steemit. Now, in this context, you'll have to look at DeFi also. DeFi is the 3.0 version, right? We have centralized banks right? And even on national level. And we have 3.0, that's when you own the data and not the banks. So if we look at like this, if we look at the definitions of on Wikipedia, right, centralized finance, which is one central place, and there was a very good reason for centralization, right? Because they didn't have a solution to the double spend problem. Their banks were centralized because if you would do business in several places at the same time, you could spend the money several times. They didn't know how to sync that. There wasn't the technology to do that. Right? So banks were historically centralized. Now we have the technology to make it decentralized. And with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all kinds of other tools we have to improve the financial system. When we look at the services and the products a bank sells, I don't know what you buy at a bank. Maybe it's some saving capacity, some borrowing of money, some transferring of money, maybe an insurance you buy at the bank, things like that. Now, here I have a list of the 9 functions that the financial industry has, right? Storing value, moving, lending, funding, etc. These 9 things is what you also want in DeFi. Now, centralized banking is a little bit the same structure like when you send an email to somebody or when you send money to someone. If I send an email to Jeroen, then the email goes from my machine to my internet service provider to a mail server from another organization, etc. Then it comes to the internet service provider of Jeroen, and then it comes to his machine. With centralized banking, it's the same. I transfer money to someone in India. It first goes to my bank, then to a national bank, then it goes to an international contact in India, to a local bank, and then to someone else living there. Now, decentralized banking is completely different. It's not comparable. It is peer-to-peer, and the intermediates that you see in centralized finance are gone. There are no intermediates. There is only the blockchain. There are only smart contracts working on it and DAOs. Now, here we have the layers. I believe Gert-Jan, who just left, was talking about. We have several layers that build upon each other. And the first layer, the base layer, is the blockchain of your choice, right? The Bitcoin chain, the Ethereum chain, Iota, whatever. That is the base layer. And on top of that, they are building a digital asset layer, right? You can make ERC20 coins when you are on the Ethereum base layer. So on top of the Ethereum base layer, you have contracts that can organize an ERC20 token. And on top of that layer is the application layer. So we have ERC20 tokens. Now with an extra layer, we can trade these tokens, right? So there are several layers stacked upon each other, making it possible to work with smart contracts and DAOs on different kind of tokens. That is where DeFi lives, on layer 3. And the CeFi and DeFi connect to that layer 3 in different ways, but they connect. CeFi is totally off-chain, right? The central financial institutions are not really connected. They have their own SWIFT network, they have their own banks, but they are not really connected to the crypto world. They only do off-chain transactions, right? And the only time they are interacting with the chains is to move assets in and out of the system. You buy Bitcoin, then you exchange your euros For Bitcoins, that's when your bank would contact them. Now, they have large problems with that. Maybe not technical. Technical you can solve, but banks are very skeptical because decentralized finance is interfering with their business model, right? It could very well make them obsolete. So they are very apprehensive. Now, if we are comparing that with DeFi, DeFi lives on-chain. There is no off-chain. DeFi does not exist off-chain. And DeFi is open source and permissionless there where CeFi is a central entity, right? Banks, exchanges, etc. DeFi is coordinated by developers, the programmers, the community around them. And like I just showed you in this picture, there are no intermediaries. There are only smart contracts. Now, how do CeFi and DeFi make a bridge to fiat? CeFi, centralized finance, is all about fiat money, right? Euros, dollars, etc. And they do an easy exchange from fiat to crypto to fiat back. So that's going easy. And DeFi, decentralized finance, doesn't know DeFi money. That's fiat money. So fiat does not exist, only crypto, right? There are some stable coins, right, that are used in DeFi, which are connected to the US dollar or euros or yuan or whatever. But the fiat money in itself, like we know from central bank digital currencies, that is not yet there. It doesn't live in the DeFi world. There where centralized finance is has trust issues, DeFi doesn't, right? If you put your money in a bank account, the bank, you have to trust them with your funds, okay, your data, your privacy. I mean, just stop and imagine what the bank knows about you. You're paying your bills, you're shopping. They know exactly how you live, what your energy bill is, how many taxes you pay. Everything goes through your bank account, which is, you need to have a lot of trust. Right? There used to be a banking secrecy in Switzerland, etc. There is not anymore. Banks are obliged to share their information with the states. So trust is a big thing when you look at centralized finance. Now, in decentralized finance, that's trustless. And it's censorship resistant. Nobody else is in control but you. Yeah? Privacy, of course, you're your own boss, so you will have to think about privacy. You will have to be knowledgeable what you do and what you don't do on the chain. So be careful, but you are your own boss. You decide which data, which funds, and the privacy involved are going to be exposed or not. When we compare regulations, laws between CeFi and DeFi, it's very black and white at the moment, right? At the moment, centralized finance is heavily regulated. You need bank licenses, and to acquire a bank license, you need to have a lot of collateral. You need to prove that you have an X number of directors and that they have a certain level of knowledge. You'll have very high requirements when it comes to administration. You will be audited, etc., etc. So it's very strict, and I think it should be, right? Because like in the slide before here, there are trust issues when you look at centralized banking. In DeFi, it's unregulated until now. Right, so there are regulations in the making. In Europe, it's gradually creeping up in the levels, but like here, MiCA, Markets in Crypto Assets regulation is coming. So countries in Europe are talking to each other what the level is that they want to impose. In centralized finance, we have a single point of failure. If we look at risk, there are banks going broke, and it's been a few years in Italy, but they were falling like trees. In Holland, we also had a few banks that went bankrupt. That is a risk, right? A bank, when there is a bank run, right? The last incident we had in the Netherlands was there was this bank, and a respectable journalist said that there was a big scam in the bank, and he proposed a bank run. So all the people who were clients at that bank took their money out. Within 2 days, the bank was broke, right? Because they gave out more money than they had. Every bank does that. So if people start collecting their money from ATMs, it's gone in 2 days. So that can be quite a liability. Now here in Holland we have something, I don't know how to translate it in English, but it's the depositogarantiestelsel, where your deposits at a bank are guaranteed up to 100,000 euros. Right, so by the national bank, because there are requirements and the licenses, etc. So when you get a license, you are participating in the guarantee. But if you have more than 100,000 at that bank account, the rest of the money is gone, right? So there is no real insurance. Now, if we look at DeFi risk, hey, that risk is not really there, but there's other risks. There is smart contract risk. So there could be a bug in the smart contract. We saw that at the news topic, right? In Badger DAO, there were some bad lines in the smart contract and money was taken out. So that is a risk. If you are a programmer, you know that in every 100 lines of code, there are at least 10 errors. Well, if you have a real DAO built of hundreds or maybe thousands lines of code, then you'll probably become a little bit nervous. So there can be bugs in smart contracts, and those 4 letters at the end of the line mean you're on your own. There is nobody you can call if the money is gone, right? You cannot call your credit card company or your bank. It is gone. Now, decentralized finance solves a lot of problems that are in centralized finance, right? There is this list, so there is a problem with centralized control, which DeFi solves. There is a problem with limited accessibility. I mean, 60% of the people living on this planet don't have a bank account. They are what is called the unbanked, so they cannot participate in economic traffic. DeFi solves that. If you have a smartphone, then you have a bank account because it can live on your phone. So limited accessibility is a very big thing that DeFi solves. Inefficiency, right? Banks are data silos, and decentralized finance is not. It's transparent. The data is shared. Now, lack of interoperability, that's also the data silos. The lack of transparency, right? Now there are some communication lines, but to a few years ago, if you had your money at Rabobank, you could not go to ABN AMRO Bank and ask them for your balance. It just doesn't work this way. In DeFi, you can be anywhere on the planet as long as you have internet access. You can see what your balance is. You can look at any chain with any explorer. So there is a lot of transparency. There are certain risks involved in decentralized finance. Let me specify them. There is base layer risk, right? The layer which you build on a Bitcoin, Ethereum, Iota, Polygon, or whatever you use as a base layer, if there is an error in that, then your DeFi application will also have the error. So there is some risk involved. The risk is small, but it still exists. Then there is specific smart contract risks, the bugs I talked about. Maybe a programmer didn't think things through, like the first DAO hack, where 2 lines of code should have been exchanged. That is a risk. Somebody might be able to exploit an error and take money out. Then there is a combination of smart contract risk. With that I mean, when you build a smart contract, you're using libraries or other smart contracts which you rely on. So you're building on top of what somebody else developed. And that might be a risk. Combining smart contracts is something that the original developer didn't account for. Or they have a bug and you cannot detect it. That might bring a lot of pain, so to speak. And then there is the last one, lack of user knowledge. Right? There are lots of people in the DeFi world that really don't know what they're doing. And you could say that they are gambling with their money in some way, because if you step into a car and you don't know what you're doing, you're at risk also. So that are extra risks. In centralized finance, you don't have that. The lack of user knowledge is something that the bank has to compensate for. There are specialists that have to look after you. There are rules and laws that they will have to comply to when they help you as a customer. So they have responsibilities, and in DeFi, you're on your own. Now, let me get the next one. The value where everybody looks at in DeFi is total value locked, right? Because when you participate in DeFi, most of the time you are locking your coins up for a short or a longer period, and that money will then generate what people perceive as passive income. Right? You have your coins in your wallet and prices go up and down, hopefully a little bit more up than down, but still you could say, okay, but these coins are there. Couldn't I get an interest rate on that, for instance, that generates a passive income? That is possible with DeFi. So you'll have to lock up your money. Now, at the moment, the total value locked is at $105 billion. Right? And it's creating new highs and new highs ever again. It's becoming popular and more popular. So on this website, DeFi Pulse, you can look at that value. And on that website also is a large list of DeFi projects. Right? It's just a small portion you see here on the screen. There are all kinds of projects for lending, borrowing, staking, you name it. And I will give you an example of a few of them in a moment. So go and look at that website and see all the possibilities. And then it's increasing every day. The first example I'm going to give you is about lending and borrowing. Right? So there is someone who says, oh, I would like to receive some passive income on the money I have in my crypto. Why not lend the money to somebody else? And there are two two largest competitors in this are Aave.com and Compound.finance, where you can lend out your money to someone else. Now, it's DeFi, right? So it's Web 3.0, which means there is no central authority where you put your money in. It's a smart contract. Now, how does a bank work when you are borrowing money, right? I put money in a savings account. They give me, at the moment, 0%. I have to be glad that I don't pay any interest rate, but let's say I will get 1%. Let's be optimistic. I receive 1% interest per annum on my money I park at the bank. Now, the bank lends that to somebody else who borrows it from the bank, and they will pay a higher interest rate. But the bank has to be sure to get that money back when I want my money back. So the bank asks for collateral, right? If you want to borrow money from the bank, your house will be your collateral, or your car will be your collateral, or your salary for the next number of months will be the collateral. You have to show them that you have the money to pay them back. Although you lend money because at the moment you don't have it cash. Now, some way that works in DeFi also. So on the right you see the lender. He has, let's say, dollars. And he takes his dollars and puts them in the safe in the middle. Right? He puts them in, and so somebody else can borrow the value of that money. Now, here's the guy who wants to borrow money. Now, he wants to borrow these dollars, and that could be Ethereums or whatever. He wants to borrow that money, but the safe, the smart contract bank, wants to be sure that he will bring it back. So he will have to provide collateral. In this case, Bitcoins. He will put Bitcoins in the safe. Bitcoins, in some cases, it could be 80% of the value. If you put in some kind of altcoin, which has a very high volatility, it could mean you have to double the value to put in the safe to get the money out. Right? So it all depends, but you need collateral. So when you put these Bitcoins in, then you can take the dollars out, or the tethers, or whatever. So he takes it out, he does his thing with it, and when he's done with the money, he pays it back with interest. And that money goes back in and goes back to the lender. My finger is getting cut off. At the full right. And when he pays that back, then the Bitcoins will come out. Right? That's how it works. Just like a bank. Right? My grandfather used to say, a bank gives you umbrellas when the sun shines, but when it starts raining, they want them back. It's very simple. You can have money, you can borrow money when you have money. But if you don't have any collateral, you will not be able to borrow anything. That's when you need it the most, right? Now, why would you do that? I mean, this guy has Bitcoins in a value maybe even higher than the money he wants to borrow, and he still locks them up and takes out Ethers or whatever. Well, maybe he thinks that Ether is gonna go up, and Bitcoin also. But he doesn't want to sell his Bitcoin because probably you would say, well, exchange your Bitcoins for Ethers. Just buy Ethers with your Bitcoins. No problem. Yeah, but then the rise in price of Bitcoin would not be mine anymore. So in this case, I lock up the Bitcoins. I still, when I get them out, they are still a higher value. The Ethers I have in my possession will increase, and hopefully increase more than the interest rate I have to pay, right? Maybe I pay 6 or 8% per annum, and Ethers could easily go up 20% in a month, right? So I have and my Bitcoins and my Ethers, and be able to profit from both. So that's why you would borrow money in DeFi. Now, there is a turbo version of that. Maybe you heard the term flash loan. A flash loan is where you borrow the money, do your thing, pay it back with interest within the same block. Right? So before a next block is mined, the transaction is already reversed. You can do that with very large amounts of money because you only need it for a fraction of time, but it's not for the faint-hearted. and you'll have to be technical. A flash loan is not something you can just click on and do it yourself. You have to be a programmer. You have to program the money being taken out and do a transaction with it and putting it back. So it's very specialized. There is a website where you can find a little bit more information and where you can do that kind of transactions. So, but flash loans are also a thing, not in CeFi, but in DeFi. Staking. Joel talked about it. There are many protocols that need liquidity for doing transactions, for doing mining, etc. Now there's this website, lido.fi, where you can stake money, and you see some rates of different coins and different interest rates you can get on staking that money. That is a nice risk-free way of making a passive income. And risk-free, with that I mean you still will have the price volatility of the coin you're staking, of course, right? You'll not be able to sell them while they are in lockdown. Insurance. You'll probably have some insurance at your bank. And like I said, the deposit guarantee here in Holland, the 100,000 euros, is something which is guaranteed by the National Bank. Now, there is something like that in DeFi. If you go to armor.fi, that is a website where you can insure your crypto coins to a certain extent and paying a certain amount of money for that insurance. So if you have your coins at a certain exchange, remember, not your coins, not your keys, not your coins. You have them at a certain exchange and you're afraid that it's going to go broke or whatever, but you still want to leave them there. You could insure your coins and pay an amount of money for that. And the person who is taking that risk, underwriting that risk perhaps, is earning money, a passive income. Exchanges, remember now Europe has €1, but when we had to exchange our own currency for another country, now we have euros which I want to exchange to dollars. Well, DeFi has its own exchange where you can put in one crypto and get the other crypto out, and there is of course a fee. Wrapped coins are a DeFi product also, where you say, okay, you have Bitcoin but you wanted to have ethers, then you can wrap these coins and still keep the Bitcoins and their price increase, hopefully, but still sell them as ethers. A nice concept. It is a little bit like the lending and borrowing, but the wrapped coins you'll see on several websites, WETH or WBTC, that are wrapped coins. Here we have another product. At my bank, we used to have these safe lockers, where you would put precious pieces of art in, or where you would put some family heirloom at the bank. You really don't want to lose them. Now, NFTs are collectibles also, right? Digital collectibles, and OpenSea and Rarible are the two biggest websites where you can trade these NFTs, these collectibles. Being the owner of one of the apes of the yacht club, for instance, where people are selling them. If you look at the price of that one, is in WETH, wrapped ethers. So people are paying serious money for these digital pieces of art and selling them for even more serious money. You could mint NFTs yourself, right? Danny did a demo of that in, I believe, the last meetup we transmitted on the 11th of November. You can even mint NFTs without paying a transaction fee, right? Danny took a picture of his cat and made an NFT out of that and sold it. But you'll have to do a transaction on the blockchain, and a transaction means transaction costs. transaction fee. But now several websites, several NFT auction sites have the possibility to use lazy minting, which means you do put your NFT up for sale, but you don't do a transaction yet. Only when somebody buys your NFT, then there will be a transaction on the chain, and then there will be transaction costs for the new buyer. But you don't have to put in money up front before you have even sold it. So lazy minting is a thing. Or when you put your NFTs on OpenSea, then use the Polygon chain instead of Ethereum, because Polygon is also gasless and you don't have any transaction fee on that. So these are all kinds of decentralized finance products with which you can generate a passive income, which is I hope you understand, is a big difference to centralized finance. Okay, that was my last sheet. Let's see if there are any questions. I don't see any questions. Then we're done, I think, for today. The thing I have to do, of course, is thank Joelle for teaching us about what's going to be the near future, hopefully near, but certainly future for Iota. There is the date for our next meetup, the 20th of January in the new year. I have to become a real YouTuber and ask you to subscribe and push all kinds of buttons and bells, etc. So the YouTube algorithm will be able to find us a little bit better on YouTube when people are searching for Iota or for a blockchain project. We are going to go to Kumo Space. I will put the link in. And maybe I'll see you there in a few minutes. I will hope to see you in the new year. And if I don't speak to you, I see there are some people I know, but if I don't see or speak to you, I wish you happy holidays and a very good new year for the coming year. Goodbye.